Thursday morning, March 26, 2026, Buddha Dhamma 18.6, Part 4, from page 1870 to page 1880, the end of the chapter of 18, Ways of Developing Concentration, Samadhi. Now, yesterday, we started off with 18.6J, mindfulness of breathing as an example of meditation practice. And we covered, thus, special attributes of mindfulness of breathing. Now, we're going to go into Gautama Buddha's words describing mindfulness, sati, of breathing. And then methods of practice in the context of samatha and commencing meditation on the breath. And that will be the end of chapter 18. Buddha Dhamma, compiled by Somdet Prat Bhuta Gosa Charya, English name P.A. Payuto. On the page of 1870, 18.62, Gautama Buddha's words describing mindfulness of breathing. To begin with, here is the method of practicing mindfulness of breathing as taught by Gautama Buddha, and how monks, bhikkhus, siddhis, is mindfulness of breathing developed and cultivated so that it is great fruit and benefit. Here, a monk in this righteous law of Dhamma and Vinaya discipline goes to the forest, to the foot of a tree, or to an empty place, a hut, sits with legs folded crosswise, straightens his body, and establishes mindfulness in front of him. That is, he makes effort in meditation, concentration, and focuses on the breath. Mindfully, he breathes out. Mindfully, he breathes in. The first group of the four factors can be used for developing the foundation of mindfulness regarding contemplation of the body. In Pali language, it's Kaya Nupassana Satipatthana. Breathing out long, he knows I breathe out long. Breathing in long, he knows I breathe in long. Breathing out short, he knows I breathe out short. Breathing in short, he knows I breathe out short. He trains thus, being aware of the whole body, I will breathe out. He trains thus, being aware of the whole body, I will breathe in. He trains thus, calming the bodily formation, I will breathe out. He trains thus, calming the bodily formation, I will breathe in. The second group of the four factors can be used for developing the foundation of mindfulness regarding contemplation of the feelings. Vedana Nupassana Satipatthana. Clearly knowing delight, I will breathe out. Clearly knowing delight, I will breathe in. He trains thus. Clearly knowing happiness, I will breathe out. Clearly knowing happiness, I will breathe in. He trains thus. Clearly knowing the mental formation, I breathe out. Clearly knowing the mental formation, I breathe in. He trains thus. Calming the mental formation, I breathe out. Calming the mental formation, I breathe in. He trains thus. The third group of the four factors can be used for developing the foundation of mindfulness regarding contemplation of the mind. Sita Nupassana Satipatthana. Clearly knowing the mind, I breathe out. He trains thus. Clearly knowing the mind, I breathe in. He trains thus. Gladdening the mind, I will breathe out. He trains thus. Gladdening the mind, I breathe in. He trains thus. Concentrating the mind, I breathe out. He trains thus. Concentrating the mind, I breathe in. He trains thus. Liberating the mind, I breathe out. He trains thus. Liberating the mind, I breathe in. He trains thus. The four groups of the four factors can be used for developing the foundation of mindfulness regarding contemplation of the mind objects. Dhammanupassana Satipatthana. Contemplating impermanence, anicca, I breathe out. He trains thus. Contemplating impermanence, anicca, I breathe in. Contemplating detachment, I breathe out. He trains thus. Contemplating detachment, I breathe in. He trains thus. Contemplating cessation, nirodha, I breathe out. He trains thus. Contemplating nirodha, cessation, I breathe in. Contemplating relinquishment, I breathe out. Contemplating relinquishment, I breathe in. He trains thus. Now, here it will explain the practice in brief, limited to the development of samatha, tranquility, within the first tetrad, the first group of the four factors. 18.63 Methods of practice in the context of tranquility, concentration, meditation, samatha, preparation. Location. If one wishes to practice concentration in earnest, one should first seek out a quiet and secluded place which is free from loud noises and other disturbing sense impressions. Finding such a supportive environment for practice is especially important for beginners of concentration. This is similar to someone who is learning how to swim. One will begin by using flotation devices and swim in still, unturbulent water. If one faces unavoidable disturbances, however, or if one is engaged in specific activity requiring a certain level of disruption, then one should do one's best under the circumstances. Sitting posture. The main principle here is to find a sitting posture affording the greatest degree of physical relaxation and ease. One should choose whichever posture leads to the minimum level of fatigue, even when sitting for long periods of time, and which allows the breathing to be smooth and comfortable. The sitting posture, which countless concentration masters have verified to be the best, is the lotus posture. This posture is very suitable and balanced. The upper body is held erect, and ends of the 18 vertebrae are aligned. Body tissues and tendons are not twisted, and breathing is smooth. The body is of a person skilled at this posture, the lotus posture, feels light and unburdened. He or she can remain this posture for exceptionally long periods without feeling discomfort. This is conducive to concentration. A person's concentration does not falter, but rather progresses steadily. The traditional way of explaining this posture is to place one's ankles up against the lower abdomen. One can either overlap both legs, the full lotus, or lift one's right leg on top of the left leg, half lotus. One places one's hands by one's lower abdomen with the right hand on top of the left, either touching the tips of the two thumbs together or touching one's right index finger to the tips of one's left thumb. Many of these details depend on physical balance of an individual pupil. It is to be the advantage of beginners if they can train in this posture, but if it is too uncomfortable, they can still upright in their chair or choose another suitable posture. The teachings reiterate that if one is sitting with chronic tension and physical stress, then something is wrong. One should rectify the situation before proceeding. In regards to concentration with one's eyes open or closed, it depends on what gives a sense of ease and does not lead to distraction. If one keeps one's eyes open, then one should look down at the ground, or perhaps at the tip of one's nose, depending on what feels comfortable. When one is sitting at ease before sitting to concentrate, many teachers recommend breathing in deeply and slowly, filling one's lung with 2 or 3 times, and generating the sense of inner spaciousness and clarity that one is ready to focus on the breath. Moving on to commencing concentration on the breath. The commentator presents some additional concentration methods to supplement Gautama Buddha's instruction described below. We could start with ga na counting. When beginning to pay attention to a long and short in and out breath, the commentators recommend counting the breath as well, for this will help keep the mind focused. Counting is separated into 2 stages. The first stage, one counts slowly in a relaxed way. The recommended tactic or strategy here is to count to not less than 5 and not more than 10, and to count the numbers in order. If one counts to less than 5, the mind is agitated by the short interval of time. If one counts to more than 10, the mind is anxious about coming rather than staying with the breath. And if one counts in the disconnected manner, the mind gets confused. One counts the in and out breaths in pairs. Breathing in breath 1, out breath 2. In breath 2 until one reaches 5. Then one begins again, 1, 1, until one reaches 6. And begins again. One keeps adding another pair until one reaches 10, 10. And there one returns to the original 5 pairs in the repeated cycle. Context is, that's 1. 1, 2, 2, so forth, until one reaches 10. After one reaches 10, come back to 1 through 5, and then over again. In the second stage, one counts in quicker succession. When the in and the out breaths are clearly evident, when attention rests with the breathing and does not get dispersed outwards, one ceases to count using the same number twice as described above, and one begins to count single numbers. Here one does not need to pay attention to the entire process of breathing. One focuses only on the breath as it reaches the tip of the nostrils. First, one counts from 1 to 5, and then from 1 to 6. Adding another number in each sequence until one reaches 10. Then one returns to counting from 1 to 5. Counting in this way, one's meditation or concentration will be connected, as if it has no gaps. One keeps one's attention solely on the spot where the breath makes contact, either at the tip of the nostrils or the upper lip, wherever there is a clear sensation. The counting continues. One counts in this way until one reaches the point where, although one has ceased counting, mindfulness is still firmly established on the breath. Firmly established mindfulness is the object of counting, to observe or to serve the stream of restless, incoherent thoughts. B. Taking note, anupantana. When attention is established on the breath, one stops counting. Mindfully takes notes of the breath in an uninterrupted stream. Taking note here does not mean following the breath with attention, though it is various stages of beginning, middle, and end. As it passes through the nose, travels through the upper chest, and reaches the navel, and then returns from the belly area to the chest, and finally out through the nose. If one does this, the body and the mind will become agitated, and the practice will be ineffective. The correct way to take note is to mindfully observe the breath at the point of contact, at the tip of the nostrils and the upper lip. It is similar to cutting a log with a long saw. One keeps attention fixed at the point where the teeth of the saw meets the wood, and one does witness the coming and going of the saw. One does not glance at one's end of the saw or to the other as it moves. Although one keeps attention only at the point of contact, one is fully aware in the complete motion of the saw, and by these means one succeeds in the task. This is the same for a meditator. When one establishes attention at the point of the breath's contact and refrains from following the complete circuit of the breath, one is fully aware of the cycle of breathing, and one's practice bears fruit. At this stage, people will soon have a mental image, a nimitta, arise. They will quickly reach attainment cessation. For others, the process will be more gradual. From the time of counting the breath to the breath will become increasingly refined, the body will become exceptionally relaxed, and both the mind and the body will feel light, as if one is floating in space. When a coarse level of breathing ceases, the person will retain a mental image of the refined breath as an object of attention. And even when the mental image fades away, new mental images of successively more refined levels of breath remain in the mind. This is similar to when a person strikes a bell or a gong with their rod and produces a loud noise. A long-lasting reverberating sound remains in the mental impressions or mental sign, nimitta. At first, this nimitta is coarse, then becomes gradually more faint. At this point, however, a difficulty arises specific to the concentration on the breath. Unlike with other concentration techniques, in which the more one focuses, the clearer the concentration object becomes, here, the more one develops this concentration, the more refined the breath becomes, until the cessation of the breath completely disappears. There is thus no longer an object on which to focus. When this phenomenon occurs, the commentaries advise against getting worse and breaking off the concentration, but rather to retrieve the breath. Retrieving the breath is not difficult. One need not go off to search for it. Simply establishing mindfulness at the usual point of contact is enough. One reflects. The breath makes contact with the body here. Soon it will reappear. By continuing this focus in an uninterrupted way, a mental image will soon appear. Mental images or signs called nimittas appear differently for different people. Some people experience it in similar to a cotton wool, others to a slightly rough cotton cloth, or notched wood. Some say it is like a gentle breeze. For others, it appears as a star, a jewel, a pearl, a necklace or garland, smoke or spider web, a cloud, lotus, a disk, or even like the moon and sun. The differences exist because a nimitta arises from a person's perception, sanya, which is different for each individual. When a mental sign, a nimitta, arises, the concentrator should first go and inform the teacher as a way to verify the experience and to avoid misunderstanding, and then steadily establish attention on the image. When the arising of this counterpart sign, the hindrances are quelled, mindfulness is strong, and the mind reaches access concentration, jhana. Here, the concentrator should try to protect this image, to protect the stage of concentration by avoiding the 7 unsuitable conditions and engaging in 7 suitable conditions. He or she should concentrate diligently in order to develop the image by following the practices leading to attainment cessation, concentration, the 10 skills for attainment, apana kosala. The example by making consistent effort until eventually attainment cessation is reached and the person achieves the first stage of absorption, jhana. The stages of attention. According to the commentaries, the interval between taking note, anupantana, and the appearance of the mental image, sign, nimitta, contains 2 additional stages. Bhutsana, a focus on the point of breath contact at the tip of the nostril by the concentrator who is establishing the mind in attainment concentration, and Tapana, a fixed attention on an object until the mind reaches attainment concentration jhana. Tapana means pure. It's specifically the subsequent stage of establishing attention on the mental image. Nimitta, protecting the mental sign, image, sustaining attention until one reaches attainment concentration, jhana. After attaining absorption, jhana, if one then uses this concentration in order to develop insight, this is called the stage of salakana, reflection specifically on the 3 characteristics. Eventually, one reaches the path, magga, which is referred to as turning away, and the fruit, bala, which is referred to as purity, freedom from defilements. The final stage is review, to reflect on the path and the fruit that one has realized. This is the same reflection. Altogether, there are 8 stages of attention, beginning with and ending with guna and pasipasana. The 10 skills of absorption, jhana. The translation here for the 10 skill for concentration absorption are cleanliness of the body and utensils, harmonizing the 5 spiritual faculties of indriya, proficiency in the object of attention, controlling the exuberant mind, uplifting the depressed mind, making the dry mind pleasant, composure towards the balanced mind, avoiding persons who do not possess concentration, association with person who possesses concentration, and having a mind that is always bent towards meditation, absorption. This is the end of chapter 18.6. 6. as we leave off here and pick up on the appendix on the next time. Buddha Dhamma.